Welcome in, everybody. Golf Talk Radio with Mike and Billy. Joining me in the studio today, we're having a repeat performance. I think it was the July 8th show of just about 3 weeks ago. I had Dave and Nikki in the house with me helping out while Mr. Gibbs was off on assignment, I'll say. And Mr. Gibbs was off on assignment again, or is. And I've got Dave and Nikki in the house again. So
good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Nikki. Hi, David.
Yeah.
I could tell when you walked in, I'm like, oh.
Good morning, Mike. How are you?
Hi, Dave.
Okay.
Sometimes you probably go, why do I do this again? Why? But anyway, we're glad you guys are with us. Want to give out the phone number, and also a lot of you like to interact with us on social media. Look for Golf Talk Radio with Mike and Billy on Facebook, or Mike Brabnick on Facebook if you guys want to instant message or message us through Facebook. And also our Twitter handle is at GTR, the letter M, and then AND and B, Golf Talk Radio, Mike and Billy. So you can tweet, you can Facebook us, you can, some of you probably text us because you know our phone numbers, because we're that open of a show. We want you guys to participate. Today we're going to talk about, we'll start out with what I call the morning DNB instead of the morning BM. It's the morning DNB. Dave, Nikki, and Brabnick.
There had to be a way out of that one.
Exactly. So we'll throw a few things out there. Just might do with golf, might not. And then we've got loose impediments, which was something we did a couple of weeks ago, where Dave and I and Nikki bring in 5 topics about either golf, life, sports, and we pick them out of a hat. And we start talking about them the best we can, see where the conversation leads. And, again, you're welcome to chime in at 805-595-3776. And I have a topic for you, Dave, that I don't know if we might have talked about it in passing, but for Clubbing with Dave at the top of the hour.
The way you're looking at
No,
me.
I think you'll like it.
Okay.
It's like one of those really obvious topics that I'm like, why have we not talked about this before? Because I get people asking about it all the time, and I think it's probably a lot of people are really confused by it. It has to do with golf set makeups and different things like that and what's equivalent to this. But I won't give it away yet because at the top of the hour, I kind of want it just to be live.
You just want to hear me stutter and stammer.
No, because I know
sweat.
you're an expert, so I know.
We can hear you sweat.
Yeah.
Now, wait a minute. I used to be a pert.
A what?
I'm an expert.
Expert.
Yeah, I used to be a pert.
You used to be a pert?
I'm an expert.
Oh. What is a pert?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
This is going to be a good show. I can
It
tell
is.
already.
Yeah,
It's gonna
that
be
was
good.
one that kind of missed the mark here.
Yeah, that's all right. So, again, you guys feel free to call the show anytime, 805-595-3776. We're going to jump right in here to the morning BM, which is usually Billy and I's opportunity to just kind of talk about stuff. And there are a couple things I was going to go. I'll start out, and then, I don't know, Nikki and Dave, if you have anything in particular. But one of the things that's really, I think, really bothering me right now in sports, we just had the NBA championship. The Warriors played the Cavs. It was
wonderful.
It was a great series. And just like what usually happens with championship sports and teams, they're champions, and then sometimes they stay, and sometimes they disintegrate. And it's like it's gone tomorrow, here today kind of thing, right? So now
There are no more dynasties.
no, well, there's
kinda
they're hard.
try,
It's
but-
hard.
yeah.
It's hard,
Yeah.
and I guess that's part of what I was talking about. And I mean, this could play right into golf and Spieth and all that stuff. You know, as we're talking about the show. By the way, we also obviously talk about the Open. I mean, we've got to talk about that as well.
That was
in
a
our
pretty
thoughts.
good term.
That was pretty cool.
Oh, yeah, it was.
That was
But
really cool.
I guess my thought is on this, and I watched a bunch of stuff last night on YouTube just about this one individual, and his name's Kyrie Irving, and he's with the Cleveland Cavaliers, and he has, after they went to the championship, and kind of surprisingly, I guess, has said, hey, I want to be traded. I don't want to be in the shadow of LeBron James anymore. And everybody's saying, like, wah, you're a whiner, you're this, you're that, you're the other. You know what? I say it's your life. You're a professional athlete. The professional athletes were given opportunities by the collective bargaining agreements between the players' union and the owners to make these choices and make these demands. I don't think it's any different, in my opinion. I don't think it's any different than any of us working at a job and deciding at some point, Either I want to go somewhere else. You know,
Yeah.
a lot of us are in California are working for at-will employers. The employer can say, hey, we're done for no reason, just we're done.
Right.
And the employee can do the same thing. So my thought on this, and I'd like to kind of hear your thought and everybody else's thought, is professional athletes should be able to do the same thing. And obviously if it's got some kind of structure to it. And I think that, you know, especially as life is moving faster, everybody should have the opportunity to make their own choice. It might not be the right choice in somebody else's eyes, but we're not that person. That person is making a decision. That person, and maybe Kyrie Irving, has a goal. He wants to do something else. What's wrong with that? Now, the fan base is going to go, well, of course, you're a traitor because it's sports and it's all this stuff. But I think when you really dig down deep into the issue of what's going on with Kyrie Irving and what's going on with LeBron James, he should have the right to go where he wants. And, of course, the media has the right to scrutinize him, but I don't think they have the right to just say that he's whining and all this other stuff. I think it's a choice. And it's a professional athlete. It's professional sports. It's a business, and that's what the business has become. Like Dave said, there really aren't any dynasties. I mean, they're talking about the Warriors being a dynasty, but you know, Kevin Durant, the only reason they're still going to possibly fall into a dynasty is Kevin Durant took a lot less money to stay with the Warriors. And so then Curry gets a big contract. All these other guys, Sean Livingston gets a contract. David West gets a contract. So they're keeping the team intact somewhat.
That could become a dynasty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that very well could.
And I think that just leads into exactly what we were talking about is this guy, he's me, and he doesn't want to be in LeBron's shadow.
Yeah.
Well, think of the 1968 Celtics. Everybody wanted to be in Bill Russell's shadow. Yeah. Everybody wanted to be in Havlicek's shadow. They wanted to be on that team because they were going to win championships.
Right.
And nowadays, it's not so much about winning championships. It's more about MVP.
Yeah. Yeah,
I think that's unfortunate.
And that could be true. I think the other part to take into consideration here is we don't know the other things that have happened behind the scenes.
Right. Exactly.
Nobody knows.
You don't know.
Nobody knows what happened. You know, there's rumors going around that like 2 years ago or whatever it was that LeBron said, hey, to the Cleveland ownership, I want you to trade for Chris Paul. Trade Kyrie Irving to the Clippers and give me Chris Paul. And so, you know, if that's truly what happened, again, I'm just stating what's out there. I don't know if it's fact, but if that's truly what happened, if that was me and I'm playing under a guy like LeBron and I heard that happened and I find out that's true, I'm like, get me out of here. You know, I don't want to play with that guy.
It's hard to throw an assist at him, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, at some point, and then here's the other part about it is LeBron's done the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So why can't Kyrie Irving do it?
Yeah.
What's wrong with it? It's the way sports. It's what sports has become.
Well, it comes down to his opinion, what he wants to do. I mean, different people are motivated by different things. Like Dave said, I want to be part of a dynasty, or I want to be MVP, or I don't like this person, or whatever it is. But no matter how that plays out, he should have the decision on what he does. The problem is he's going to have to deal with the fallout of the media, of the fans, or whatever, and
Right.
that's got to be taken into consideration when he makes those decisions, because no one has control over what happens in that kind of scrutiny. You can't say to the media, you can't do this, because you know they're going to keep doing it, and the fans are going to do whatever. So he's going to maybe say later it was the right decision. Maybe he's going to say, man, that was a stupid decision. But it still comes down to what he wants to do. No one can force him to do something different.
Yeah, exactly. Well, unless the team doesn't trade him.
Right.
You know, that's then he's really created. And like you said, maybe he thought about what he was trying to do, and maybe he hasn't. Because if the team doesn't trade him,
And he's
now-
really in a
He's
problem.
not
I mean,
gonna
now
have
you've
much
got
fun.
a real poisonous environment. But
you do.
I still think that, and I do believe that the athlete should have the right to do that.
Yeah.
You know, now maybe he could have gone about it a better way. Maybe it could have been more behind the scenes. I don't know. I just find it interesting that, and I realize a lot of these people, that's their job, but I find it interesting that people can just form an opinion about somebody, and then that's the truth.
Yeah, boy,
'Cause
is
it's
that
not-
prevalent nowadays.
Yeah, it's not reality.
Yeah.
You know, you're
and
not.
they don't know anything about really what's going on.
No, you're not taking in the full picture.
Right.
You're not doing any. You're not doing anything but spreading speculation.
Right.
You know.
I heard they had a lover's spat.
Did you really?
Yeah. No, I just made that up.
That's funny. But so anyway, that was something that it's been on my mind all week, and it was more just thoughts and kind of paralleling it to just life in general, because we'll never probably ever know the life of those kind of professional athletes and what they go through and all the people influencing them and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But it is I think it's a really, really interesting topic, because as you see all these sports signing these TV deals with different networks, the money is so amazingly
amazing.
huge.
Yeah.
I wish I would have put it down, but there was just there's a $1.9 billion deal just signed.
Billion.
It might have been college TV,
Wow.
college sports for football.
Wouldn't doubt it. Yeah, it's
Or college basketball.
unbelievable how much money they're talking nowadays.
It's crazy.
So I would think if someone, obviously made it known that they wanted to be traded, it would be rare that a team wouldn't trade them, because at that point, like you say, they don't want to be there.
Right.
If they force them to be there, how is that going to help anybody?
Right. They just have to find. I think the hard part is maybe the way that it's gone so far is, if you're the GM and you got to trade him, the other teams know that it's already toxic.
Oh yeah.
So you've probably lost the value of what you would
Your
have gotten.
bargaining power.
Yeah,
Yeah.
your bargaining power, your leverage is kind of gone.
Yeah.
But
And you were talking about how much money it was. I got done with a lesson the other day and was sitting in the shop and watching. They had the Golf Channel on,
yeah,
and they were talking about the leading money winners this year.
yeah,
And the number 10 leading money winner this year was, I'm going to be wrong on this, but it was just nudging $4 million. And
wow,
I just went, wow. Just think the season's 2/3 of the way through, 3/4 of the way through, and it's still a bunch of money. And what did it take Arnie 21 years to get $1 million? And he was winning 5-6 tournaments a year.
yeah. That's really pretty amazing when you think about it. I mean, and obviously the other thing that's pretty amazing about it is
I'm going to look that up.
the endorsement deals now are even bigger.
Oh yeah,
I mean, Arnie made more off of
he's still
endorsements
making
and
more than anybody else out
off
there.
endorsements and golf course design and everything else he did. He made more than when he played.
Yeah.
But now, like you said, Dave, now the money that when they played is big, and now the endorsements are even bigger.
Mm-hmm.
It just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. But yeah, I just found that interesting. So I don't know if you guys had anything else you needed to kind of get off your chest. I mean, and I'm not really getting it off my chest as much as more of an observation.
Mm-hmm.
I think it kind of came more of an annoyance the more I watched, because I probably watched about 5 or 6 videos.
Yeah, it gets to be like a drama.
It is, and I know that's the job of the media. They're supposed to stir it up and make it interesting, and I'm sure a lot of the stuff's very valid, but it's, without going into politics, it's a lot like politics now.
Yeah.
You just don't know what's real. You
I mean,
really
that's
don't.
the thing. You used to feel like what was being reported was really what was going on, and now more and more it just feels like, what's the latest spin to make people talk?
Yeah. Which, again, talking, great. I think talking is great. I don't think
As long
there's
as the
anything-
facts are right.
Well, I think discussion's a great thing.
Yeah.
I guess to tie it into golf, like, here we posted something on our Facebook page. Somebody created something that when Spieth, and it was funny that somebody created this, because that was a part of the Open I was watching, and when Spieth was trying to find his line to hit back over the brink, I guess
Right.
you call it, and back into the play on the
The
golf
lost
hole.
20 minutes. Huh?
Yeah, he had 2 clubs with him because he wasn't sure what he was going to hit. I think one was like a hybrid and one was an iron. And so he finally picked, I think, his pitching wedge or something like that. And he laid his other club down on the ground. And I remember watching that going, that was kind of interesting, and
Alignment?
well, yeah. But then when you look at it not from the back angle, but from the top or from facing Spieth as he's hitting over, that club is nowhere near lined up where he would be going.
Right.
but somebody created a conspiracy theory, or
Right.
somebody created probably more of opinion. They're like, hey, he should have been penalized.
Right. Right.
That club was an alignment
Oh,
thing.
geez.
So, so that flows all through the media, or all through
Right.
Facebook, social media, excuse me. And, everybody's like trying to like knock it down. Kuchar should have won, this, that, and the other.
I hadn't heard that.
It went on and on and on and
Well,
on.
and then they're saying that it was an illegal drop because it wasn't in the right place, and it was, not in line, and da da da
Right.
da da. But man, by that point, he had enough rules officials around him that.
Yeah, I guarantee that was a legal drop.
Yeah.
I mean, they
Yeah.
had every rules official in the planet.
Well, I
out
guess,
there.
and the next part about that is if the rules officials are saying this is where you're going to drop,
That's what you do.
that's not Spieth's problem.
Right.
He's going by the rules officials.
Right.
If the rules, if umpires now with replay look at the replay back in New York at the replay center, and they say, hey, he's out, and on the video you're looking, you're like, he's safe. Well, they're saying he's out.
I'm sorry, we're 2 batters down the row.
You can't go, you can't overturn those officials. So I mean, if those, I think it would be much more of a controversy if Spieth had just done the drop, like you said, Dave, and there was no rules officials. I mean, which would be absurd anyway. Mm-hmm. But
yeah, it takes him less than 20 minutes to get there.
yeah. Anyway, we're going to take our first break, and that was the Morning BM. And we come back, we're going to do our loose impediments. We're going to pick from 15 topics out of the hat, and we'll start talking about it, see where it rolls. It's going to be about golf, sports, life, maybe other things. You never know.
Other things.
Maybe other things. You never know. So the phone number here is 805-595-3776. That's 805-595-3776. If you want to chime in, I got to let everybody know that we had...
Nobody ever calls.
Yeah, well, it's all social media now. Everybody does Facebook and Twitter. Got to let everybody know we got all the prizes are out. Everything's been mailed out. So I had a bunch of people that were emailing me and going, where is everything? And, so I got it all straightened out. Everything should be sent out from Fantasy Golf on Yahoo, from prizes here. Henry Hernandez won $50 last week from
Cool.
McPhee's Grill. I sent those out yesterday, Henry. So I just want to get it on record that it's out there.
I'll check my mail when I get home.
Yeah,
today.
you should,
Yeah.
Dave. You should. I want to thank TaylorMade Golf for partnering with Golf Talk Radio with Mike and Billy. The latest M1, M2 drivers, fairway woods, and hybrids, and irons as well. Same letter, better everything. Stay with us. Golf Talk Radio with Mike and Billy right here on ESPN Radio.